This Three Beards Media podcast is sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. When Rob and Chrissy Taylor started following the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in 2012, they fell in love with not only bourbon, but the entire distilling process. Just 8 short years later, in 2020, Revelton Distilling Company was opened, offering an entire family of products including vodka, gin, whiskey, and Revelton Shine. Come visit the tasting room at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, where you can sample one of their many spirits, including 4 gold medal winners. Can't make it to Osceola today? Not a problem, as you can pick some up at your local Hy-Vee or Fairway grocery stores. Follow Revelton Distilling on Twitter or Instagram at ReveltonDC or their website www.reveltondistilling.com.
This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts? Hello, and welcome back to yet again another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of Three Beards Media and brought to you by Revelton Distilling Company. I am Tim Johnson, joined, as always, by Mr. Chris Shipley. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Listen, this is how well I'm doing.
I don't think that the sound of that whiskey pouring was read nearly as well on audio as you thought it would.
It probably didn't, no. But the imagination of me pouring the whiskey into my glass.
That's
I've had quite a bit of this since Saturday. So
good. Hey, you spent some time this weekend with a friend of ours.
I did, yes. Friday night, I hooked up with Bill Willers, who, as listeners of the pod may remember, was a neighbor of yours, but actually went to high school with me, was a very good high school friend of mine. His dad coached me in soccer, and him and his son Owen were up in Indianola looking at Simpson for Owen to go to school at.
It still blows my mind that his kid is old enough to go to college. When I think about Bill, you know how it is. You think of your friends having kids that are just kids into perpetuity. You don't think that they actually age.
Right. No, I totally. Although Bill is certainly aged. I mean, he looks every day of.
It was great to see the pictures with his very, very distinguished. I wanted to say smoky or salt and pepper, but that's just straight up.
There's no pepper in there.
No, there's no pepper.
Straight
in
up
that.
Santa Claus.
That is, yeah.
But God love him. He listened to the pod. He brought me some. He brought me some beer from St. Louis. He brought me one that had Melvin from a Melvin distributor down there, and which is my dad's name. And I will say that beer was probably just as bitter as he was.
No, when
I kept the can, but I couldn't drink it all.
When he sent me that text with the Melvin, there was a little tear that came to my eye. I thought that was fantastic.
So yeah.
Yeah, it made me very happy. I'm jealous. I haven't seen Bill in a while. With much to my chagrin and probably to his delight that he and I have not hung out anytime soon.
It's probably been minimum 20 years.
Okay, so I have seen him more recently than you, but still, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I think I saw him once after he moved to Minneapolis. But other than that, I think the last true time that we were together for spending time was probably around his wedding. So
he is a fine St. Louis resident. very happy to bring you St. Louis beers. I thought that was pretty fantastic. So
Yeah, and I'm gonna go down and visit him. They're gonna get an MLS team down there, so he's got season tickets. So since we played soccer together, yes, I played soccer when I was in high school.
Yeah,
It was goalie. I had about 18 yards of area I had to cover, so it was fine. But so we're gonna play in that and go down and see him. So
good,
be a good time.
good. Very, very excited. He and a select few kickers in Drake. He still holds a Drake place kicking record or two, if
I believe
I'm
so.
not wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Boy, we could have used him. We could have used him 2 weeks ago.
Oh boy, that's a whole other thing. We're gonna talk about football with our guest this evening. Since the state of Iowa is very prolific at offense in college football.
That's right. Prolific. That's a great.
Yes. We get tens of yards. Anyway, so Chris, I will go ahead and let you introduce our guest this evening.
Yeah. So tonight on Old Man Strength, I invited a Twitter acquaintance, friend, I guess. I'd say a friend that I interact with quite a bit. Tim, I think you've interacted with her a little bit. She is on the Iowa side. She's sitting in front of a Packers fan, so she's already got 2 strikes coming into this thing,
right?
So,
right, sitting with a Viking and a bear,
right? I know. So, but Amy Addison from Twitter, S'mores Chick, is hopping on the pod, mostly to talk some football and things like that. But I think she has a really unique story, and I've been wanting to bring her on for a while, and I thought, why not bring her on and especially this month with what's going on. So Amy, thanks for coming on Old Man Strength. Thanks for joining the den, as we like to call it.
Thanks for inviting me. I feel so honored to be a Hawkeye in the Cyclone world.
We've had a few.
I think
we've had a few
honored.
on.
Yeah.
We have.
Those are the ones I went and listened to first, and then I went back.
See how we treat you?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. We're equally stupid around here, so it doesn't really matter who's on.
Yeah. No, we've had Tyler, we've had Shelly,
Blank.
we've had John,
Shelly Kluver, yeah. So
yeah. Yep.
we're equal opportunity around here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. We'll disappoint both fan bases equally. It's fine.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to.
Yeah.
Right?
when our teams aren't doing it anyway.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. No, Amy, very, very happy to have you on. Why don't you go ahead and take a second to introduce yourselves to our listeners?
I'm Amy. I'm S'more Chick on all of my social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
Friendster,
and-
MySpace, yeah.
Yeah, yep, all of them. So I'm old enough to have had a MySpace, but I actually didn't have a MySpace.
Tim still has one. That's the only social media.
I have never had a MySpace in my entire life. I do have an Angel Fire page that is still out there, but anyway.
I probably still have an active AOL, AIM.
Sure. Yeah, the AIM accounts. Yeah, for sure.
Out there
Little
somewhere.
Yahoo Messenger popping up in your bottom
Yeah.
right corner.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I've been on Twitter for a couple of years and started right around the pandemic. And I feel like I've curated this nice little group of people that I know I listen to. I know you all call it the cesspool, and yeah, it often is. I heard that more than once, and I was like, yeah, it can be. But I tell you, I have found some of the most supportive and amazing people, friends through Twitter, and so it's really my go-to social media type of thing. So Chris, obviously, I know him through Twitter, so and I kind of share my story on there a little bit. I went through a marriage and a divorce that was not good. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I am a survivor. And so I'm always looking for opportunities that fit right, to be able to share my story and hopefully kind of help out other people. I am diehard Iowa Hawkeye fan, black and gold till I'm dead and cold. I don't care.
Or as we like
so-
to call it, the Iowa offense.
Yeah. Okay.
It was really good, Chris. I have to give you a high five on that one. That was perfect.
It's so awesome.
I brought that on myself. I absolutely set that one out. And so my ex-husband didn't let me watch sports because he hated them, and so I've kind of I'm sitting in my garage bar. I'm turning my garage, one of my stalls in my garage, into a bar, so I can have people over and watch football games or basketball or gymnastics. So I love my Iowa sports. I love Packers and the Cubs over here, and yeah, sports make me happy. I'm a nicer person when I get to watch them. So
how much does it pain you to watch Alan Lazard catch touchdowns for your Packers?
So the first year, I took a shot every time he had a good play. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to get drunk for this, and that helped. So
that's what I did when Amir Smith-Marset fumbled the other day. I got really drunk.
Yes.
For the Bears. So
yep.
I'd give anything for a Hawkeye to make a play on my team.
Yeah. Smith-Marset, and then the game immediately following the San Francisco game, you saw another Hawkeye turn the ball over right away, and I'm not going to pretend like I didn't revel in that just a little bit.
I mean, yeah. So at first it was hard, but it's harder cheering for Hawkeyes on the Bears or the Vikings. So I can get over the college part and cheer for my Packers. But Alan Lazard won me like $60 a few weeks ago, so I like him even more now. But yeah,
I like it. I'm glad that gambling and professional sports are the great equalizer where Iowa and Iowa State fans can come together.
Yes. Yes. I mean, Iowa State lost me money a couple weeks ago too, but we'll talk about Alan Lazard winning me money instead.
There you go. So big Iowa fan.
Yeah.
I want to get. I know that we've talked a little bit about this before. About your undying devotion to Brian Ferentz.
Yes.
But I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about his quote today.
Oh, Jesus.
He was asked by, I believe, Chad Likes Co.
Yeah.
What is the downside of starting somebody else other than Spencer
Alex?
Peters?
Yeah.
Now, I was hoping that he would say that meant less Tyrod Taylor, less Taylor, the punter's name.
Corey Taylor.
Yeah. Corey Taylor, because that would have been pretty funny. But he decided to double down and say, tell me what the upside is, which is a direct shot, I think, towards Labus and Padilla. I mean, it's not the first time that he's thrown a quarterback under the bus like last year he did with Deuce Hogan. So
sure, but if you're Padilla, how do you not immediately go look at that portal?
Well, I'll tell you why. I think I've read a couple things out there today that he is a pre-med major, and he wants to get his medical degree from the University of Iowa. And I think that football is just a way for him to help him pay that. It's not necessary. I think that if he tried to transfer, that would mess up his medical dreams of being a doctor.
It
would not, but I'm going to go ahead and let Amy answer before I chime in anymore.
So I told Chris this. I have a very unpopular opinion about Brian Ferentz and also Spencer Petras. And I think, and it's because of who they are as people.
Mhm.
And I know that there are a lot of people. Spencer's just a great guy.
Sure.
No doubt. That
And
kid
Sure.
he's stuck it
he's
out. And
amazing.
yeah,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
he's tough
absolutely.
as nails and
And
stood there at the podium and took the questions. And I absolutely
Mhm.
have 100% respect for Spencer Petras.
Yeah. He takes a lot of hate from his own fan base. I mean, pisses me off when people start booing. When you're booing your own team, and I cannot stand that. And so I frequently choose violence, and I wear my Spencer Throws Darts t-shirt, and I love it, and I'm going to continue to do that. So I am of the belief that if you support people, there are three main motivators. You can motivate through fear, guilt, and love, and or love and support. And so I try to do, because I had a lot of motivation by guilt and fear growing up. And so now I have decided that that's not how I want to motivate people. And so I think the more that we support people and the more that we love them, it does help. But along with that, I listened to, I read the press conference, listened and watched clips and stuff like that. And I do support Brian and Kirk. I think they've both brought a lot to the program, and I got really upset, probably unreasonably so, when people suggested Scott Frost come to Iowa as the
well, yeah, that is just a
fuck?
dumb
I
idea.
mean,
Yeah.
honestly. So I think that Brian as a person and as a coach, from what I can see in my observations, he has the respect of his players. So Tory Taylor has he has his NIL deals, and because he's from Australia, he can't keep the money, and so he has to give it away to something. And he could have chosen to give it to the Children's Hospital like so many others have, because it's fantastic. I've spent plenty of time there. But he chose instead to do his things and give to a charity, Count the Kicks, and every kick counts, and which also goes with punting, but it's a charity that has to do with infant mortality and stillbirths and stuff. And and that's something that Brian and his wife went through. And so I think that the fact that he chose that says a lot about who the Ferentzes are as people and the support that they give to their players. And so and I realized that the things that he said today about what's the upside, I don't know what the upside is, but I know if you go through my Twitter, you'll also see that my job sucks. I hate it. And I talk to horrible people who think that they know way better than I do, but they don't do my job. And I don't do Brian's job. I don't do Kirk's job. I don't do Spencer's job. And I never have, because I'm not qualified for that. I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I don't know any of that. And so I'm going to keep going to games. And just like with any business, if you don't like the way somebody does business or something, and it's the same type of thing in my mind, stop giving them your money. If you don't like the way it's going, don't go to games, don't watch them. That's how you, if you really want to change, that's how you do it. So I'm going to keep supporting him. And yeah.
I mean, I think that's noble. But like Chris is a great guy. I love that man to death. I think Chris Shipley is a very charming, smart person. I don't want him in charge of any aspect of a college football team.
Yeah.
Have you seen me play Madden? I can call plays.
I mean, it's the way Tom Manning coaches an offense. Is like he's just calling 3 different Madden
I'm telling
plays.
you right now, those crossing routes work in Madden.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's the, well, but I guess what rubbed me the wrong way today with Brian's comments is it's not that he's trying to defend Spencer, and I'm very happy that he's defending his starting quarterback. I'm very happy that he's doing that. But when you're dead last in nearly every single statistical category, not just in Power 5, but just in FBS in general, and you want to say what's the upside, like, man, I'm bad at my job, but I don't get to defend it like that. Like, I guess that was the thing to me. It was like, it was kind of a slight to Alex to say, hey, what's the upside of starting someone else? Like, he's a scholarship player on the roster who's trying to win a starting job, and you're basically saying he's not good enough to be better than the dead last QB in FBS. And B, to me, it kind of felt like it was a smack in the face to the fans and everyone else too, to just be like, hey, what we're putting on the field is good enough.
I don't know that. So I went to the Iowa Ladies Football Academy, and we had panels with players, and we had a panel with the offensive coaches and the defensive coaches and special teams. LeVar Woods is a genius, but anyway. And something he said, he's a very fun-loving guy, I think, and he makes you laugh. But he said, everybody has an opinion about it and about what we're doing and the calls that you make. And if it's good, they're happy. If it's bad, they go off the rails. And I see that. I see that on Twitter. And one thing, and it every Sunday, my block feature gets used a lot because I just don't. I don't want to entertain those things. I don't want the negativity. And so I mute a lot of people because some people I like during basketball season, just not during football season. And then some people just get blocked. I'm just not going to do that. But so everybody has their opinion, and I don't. And I guess I took that different than being a slight to Alex, because he did go in last year and he did play last year, and Spencer was on the sidelines helping, calling plays and stuff. But I didn't see it the way that a lot of other people saw it. So I think Spencer is a good leader and his team has a lot of respect for him. We also have a very young O-line.
Sure.
So there's somebody said, or I read somewhere or something, there's a Tyler Linderbaum size hole in our O-line. Sure. That's not shoes that you can fill right away. And so I see our O-line getting stronger, and when Spencer has the time, he throws darts, and he can, and yeah. I have the t-shirt.
I made a face because he can throw darts.
Yeah.
I throw darts. It doesn't mean I hit bullseyes. Sometimes I hit I hit the side of the wall or the jukebox.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And that's,
yeah.
I mean, because there have been plenty of times, in my opinion, and again, I'm not sitting here trying to criticize a kid, although Spencer at this point is a wise old man, but like, man, like people can be really nice people.
Yes.
Right. I mean, Brian's a public employee, and I think that's part of where I feel comfortable criticizing Brian, because he does work for, granted, I don't live in the state of Iowa anymore, but he is technically a public employee. Being a great person and being good at the job you're paid to do are two different things. And Spencer's a great kid, and yes, he can throw a ball on a rope, but man, there have been a lot of times there's been a wide open receiver and he has missed them by a mile.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
Right, and he's a college kid, but if you're Alex and you're literally, you have your own coach saying there's no upside to playing you, and he told the press there's no upside to playing him. If your boss said there is no upside to you being good at your job, do you want to work? You don't like your job. Do you want to work for that boss?
I don't want to work for my bosses at all. But they're not
bad analogy.
People. Yeah. He also said, what's the upside? I don't see making a change for change's sake. And
you're dead
that.
last in the FBS in every statistical category. If I'm the worst person at my job, there is an upside to changing what I'm doing.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you this, because I read a couple things on Twitter today, and I don't know how accurate it is, because I'm not in tune with the Iowa football team.
But the Iowa football team isn't in tune with the Iowa football team.
But I do think that there is some history out there with, if you get in the doghouse with Kirk, it's very hard to get out. I heard today people mention DJK and the doghouse that he was in, and to a little bit even Noah Fant there for a while, when his brother was chirping along and kind of speaking out of turn. Noah kind of saw some balls not go his way. So let me ask you this. I heard today that I think there's a kids event in the off season. Is that right? For the Iowa football team, like at the kids or something like that.
Yeah.
And Chad Lutzico had asked Alex Padilla why he didn't enter the transfer portal at that time, and his response was because of the Iowa medical program, that he was really there for the medical program and not so much for the football team. I don't know how accurate that quote is, but do you think maybe if that's true, that may be part of Kirk saying, okay, if you're not fully bought into us, then why should we put any stock in you?
Possibly. I don't know. I hadn't heard that. So I don't know. I don't pay a lot of attention to necessarily what majors they have or the players have or anything like that. Because they're there getting an education, and I get that, and that's all the criticism of the transfer portal. People saying we shouldn't have it, it shouldn't be there. It's not, you're not there playing sports. You're there getting an education, because sports isn't always going to be there.
99% of college athletes aren't going to go pro in sports.
Yeah.
And 100% of them aren't going to be pro athletes after the age of 42. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah. And even the pro ones, I mean, some of them are still going to school and in their rookie seasons and stuff. And to get their degrees, that's what they started. And that's why they went to college.
Right.
I mean, some of them went because they wanted to play pro sports. But that's, I'm going to set that aside in my opinions on that one. Yeah. I already know I'm going to get ripped apart from my beliefs on Brian Ferentz and putting them out there. So we'll set that one aside for another one.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's fair. I can listen. Last week when Matt Campbell made the statement about the Iowa State fan base tried to burn our 18-year-old kicker, and the majority of the fan base was pissed because he said fan base. It didn't bother me one bit. I saw it more in that he was defending his 18-year-old kicker, who, is an 18-year-old kid, and there were people that went after him, and then after hearing some things about his number got doxxed and people were threatening him via email and things like that. I in the heat of the moment, Matt saying our fan base, I mean, if you didn't do that, then I don't know what you're worried about. I don't know why you're crying.
I have zero problem with Matt doing that. I thought it was dumb that people got offended by it, like, oh, well, it's not all of us. Well, no, it's not all of us, but it
clearly happened.
It's plenty of us, right?
Right.
And as much as I want to hold all of Iowa's fan base accountable every time one Hawkeye is an asshole to someone, right? Cyclones, let's back up. When have we ever had a good kicking game? Like ever?
I remember Jeff Shudak.
I was gonna say Jeff Shudak, right?
And maybe Shaggy when he kicked those 5 field goals against Iowa.
I was gonna say Brett had a great game against Iowa. Brett was not necessarily he was a very good inside of 40-yard lines.
Jeff Shudak was so great that his kid decided to go to Iowa.
I was gonna say the last time anyone brought up Jeff Shudak to me, it was Bill Willers anyway. So just because he's a kicker and he needed to
feel relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Bill.
No, he's not relevant. It's fine. You don't have to apologize to him. But no, Amy, I do get what you're saying, and I'm, as much as I think that Spence is not the right guy to lead the offense, I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about him. What I am going to say, though, is if you are paid a lot of money to do a job and you're not successful at your job, I don't care if you helped Jesus save homeless children from cancer. Like you don't. That's
I feel
not,
like whoever does that gets a pass. Come on,
but
for like, saving kids with cancer gets a pass.
But not for your job.
Yes, he does.
You're paid.
If he's doing that on his free time. He's coaching football, but he's curing cancer on the side. He gets a pass.
Then you're a great human being. You're not great at the thing you're paid to do.
You're gonna fire Jesus. You're gonna go into an office and fire Jesus because he can't run a.
Oh no, I'm not firing Jesus. I'm firing the guy who's helping Jesus. But no, like at the end of he's paid a lot of money to have a product out on the field that forget Power 5, just standard FBS. I mean, there's Central Michigan State Tech has a better offense right now that can manage. Iowa got a
school up.
Iowa got a turnover at like the 4-yard line and kicked like a 40-yard field. Like they get negative yards. You have to be able to produce.
Yes. Yes.
Oh God, I love you, Amy. You're sticking right to it, though.
Oh no, she's sticking to her guns. It's right. Great.
It's totally commendable.
Oh, I love it.
I'd have folded by now.
It's fantastic.
Yes. I'm not. I went to the Big Ten championship game last year. And cried just a little bit. But it was, we got there. We had a 10-win season, and not all of them are going to be like that. And so I mentioned my ex-husband didn't let me watch sports. And so there was no way I was ever going to get to spend money to go to a game. And so the first Iowa football game, after we separated, I was there. My ass was in the seat there. And for reasons, that's obviously my favorite game. But that was in 2015. And our undefeated season until the championship and the bowl game, but we're not going to talk about those because I cried then too. But so that was kind of my first, not my first exposure, because I grew up around Eastern Iowa, so it's in my contract to be a Hawkeye.
Hey, I grew up in Eastern Iowa. It is not in my contract to be a Hawkeye. Let's just pump the
You
brakes
weren't a
on
little
that one.
Hawkeye fan before, Tim. Oh no, because your dad went to Iowa State. That's right.
Both my
okay.
parents went to Iowa State, so yes, I was not.
Okay.
Anyway,
so I grew up as a Hawkeye fan. That's just what we did, and I've spent a lot of time at the hospital, and they have my college tuition was spent paying medical bills, and so I am, yes, and I
get you. I mean, I just keep going back to, like, man, if you want to talk shit about my mom, you're a terrible person. But if you talk shit about my mom as an offensive coordinator, I'm like, no, you're right. She's terrible. She doesn't understand football.
Oh, that's the greatest segue ever. Oh my god. I feel like we've talked about enough depressing stuff. Let's move on to the domestic violence stuff.
Oh, Jesus Christ. God damn it, Chris. That was
I am all about dark humor, and so I
knew Amy would like it.
Definitely.
That doesn't make it okay. She likes Brian Ferentz. She already has terrible taste. Let's just
Oh, I'm sorry, Lord. I apologize.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
Now's an appropriate time for a word from our sponsor.
It's fall, it's football, and no better time to celebrate those victories or soothe away those losses like a drink from Revelton Distilling Company. Imagine a cool, crisp Saturday morning at your tailgate, friends and family enjoying a quick morning cup of coffee spiced up with Revelton's Whiskey Cream and Liqueur. Their cream liqueur is made from a 3-year-old Iowa corn bourbon whiskey with a cream and notes of chocolate and honey. Wow, does that not sound like the perfect way to begin a day watching your favorite team dominate on the field? Then after the game, sit back and relax with one of a kind honey old fashioned with Revelton's Honey Whiskey. Oh, and something new and exciting is on the horizon. So be sure to check out all their updates on their Twitter or Instagram page at ReveltonDC.
There's not a sponsor on earth right now that wants us to cut to them. Oh my god. Wow. Okay. Well, this is cool because I as the de facto host of this thing, I have to find a way to segue this nonsense, and I have no way to do that other than to ask Chris why he grew a goatee like this in 1997.
Dude, I will tell you, I'm looking in the camera and it does look a little uneven over here. So here's your segue. If you want to make my goatee look better and make me look like a more handsome person than I already am, then you should certainly buy some Revelton Honey Whiskey and drink that, and that'll straighten those lines right up.
I will say, Chris and I actually had, Amy, you'll appreciate this. So this past weekend, there was an NFC North battle between, I say battle, that wasn't the battle. That was,
it was too, we came back. We were in that game at the end.
Oh yeah.
Again,
but
if it wasn't for that fucking Hawkeye that fumbled the ball and got a block in the back on a touchdown run by Justin Fields, they should cut that fucker right now.
So anyway, Amy,
The dude couldn't even make it on the Vikings. We had to pick him up off the scrap heap and put him on there. Sorry.
So Bears Vikings played this past weekend.
Don't hold back, Chris. Tell us how you really feel.
Oh my God, I was so pissed. I almost broke one of my 3 TVs.
No, I was really cocky there at the beginning when they jumped out to like a 24-3 lead or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, how uncocky I was. I threw the same bet out there to Chris Williams. And after 2 scores, I quickly deleted the tweet so he wouldn't see it.
Chicken shit.
I am.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. Not that I have any faith in the Vikings whatsoever, because I am a Vikings fan, so I understand that the one thing they do have going for them is that the one guarantee is they will let you down. I mean, you've got to see a Super Bowl championship in your lifetime, Chris.
That's right. It was a long time ago.
Still, hey,
I've even got to see him losing one.
I was gonna say it was in my lifetime that I saw them win the championship. But yes, so Chris and I did bet a bottle of whiskey on the game, so I do have a bottle of Revelton Shine on the way, right, Chris?
That's correct.
Excellent.
Well, it's not technically on the way, but it's owed to you. Yes.
which is excellent, because I have a feeling that there will be plenty of other opportunities where I'm going to I would say
I'm going to get you a fresh, a really fresh bottle. I'm going to go down to 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, and pick up a bottle directly from Rob and Christy at their beautiful tasting room in Osceola, Iowa.
Look at that! You are a consummate professional. That was amazing.
Yeah.
It's
and if you can't make it to the tasting room, will you perhaps pick some up at your local Hy-Vee or Fairway?
I will at the local Hy-Vee and Fairway. It is available. Matter of fact, I made this sweet little cup right here, coffee filled with Texas Fears and OU tears for Stephanie Copley. I got to deliver. And there might be a little bottle of their whiskey, cream, and liqueur in there too for her coffee for Saturday.
That was fantastic. I'm really glad that you chose to show something on video for what is an audio format of a podcast.
We'll show that.
That was very helpful.
Listen, this bottle right here was full when I started, so
I don't know. Once again, the visual aids are really helping this.
I'm not entirely sure how well the rest of this podcast is going to go. I don't know that I can feel my face.
Oh my goodness.
It's fine.
Wow.
It'll be fine.
Fine.
It'll be professional, and I'm not going to edit it while I'm hammered.
Thankfully, yeah, absolutely. So Amy, we did warn you before this thing got going that we do go off the rails just a little bit.
Yeah.
I before we switch subjects, and I still want to stay on football for just a little bit. Because your Packers also had an interesting game on Sunday.
Why you gotta do that?
So it was a terrible
lost.
weekend
So
for
great.
me.
Sorry.
I just keep drinking. I'm gonna go get the whiskey out of the cabinet. Yeah.
Soon Tim's gonna be the only sober one on this whole show.
Yeah.
Which, good Lord, what a train wreck this is going to be. Aaron had an awful lot of passes batted at the line of scrimmage at the end of that game.
Yeah, it was not good. It was not good. So
awesome.
I have a friend who is a Giants fan, and so I owe him a bottle of vodka. So, yeah. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought for sure I was getting a bottle of whiskey, but no.
He's a Giants fan. I thought that'd be like a bottle of Jaeger.
Oh, can I switch it up?
Oh,
I might do that.
Yeah. Fireball, something like that. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not. I I actually did not get to watch the Iowa game on Saturday. I was in a.
You missed that, like an exciting 6 points, though.
I know.
Yeah.
I was in a theater production, and so I didn't get to watch it. And I opened Twitter afterwards, and I closed it right back. And I was like, well, at least the Packers are playing the Giants, so we'll be fine. And then I got up Sunday morning, and I was working my second job. I say that loosely because I occasionally get paid when I remember to turn in my hours. I just do it for fun. Yeah.
Is that with AJ by any chance?
Yep.
Yeah,
it
I
is.
want to talk about AJ here in a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. So I got him up in the morning and got ready, and the game was in London. And so I was like, okay, so we're going to watch football today. And one of the things that I've taught him is Go Hawks. And so, and he also knows Go Cubs Go. He requests that song too. And so I was like, on Sunday morning, we're going to watch football and we're going to learn Go Pack Go. And then
they say
that game happened, and he learned
our kids.
He learned other words that were not Go Pack Go. And I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate that his teachers probably can't understand what he's saying when he says the words that I taught him. So, yeah, it was not a good weekend. So, yeah.
Well, you brought up AJ. Let's briefly talk about him, because that little kid kind of has my heart. I love the picture that you send of AJ. Tell me about AJ.
So AJ is my friend's son. He also has a big sister that I don't talk about a lot, just because I like to let her have her privacy and stuff. But so my some good friends of mine, their son was born in 2015 in September, and had no idea anything was wrong, but he was born, and they noticed, one of the nurses noticed webbing between his toes, and so then they decided to look at a little bit more, and determined that he had Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And so then they looked at all of the other things, all of those other complications that sometimes come along with Down syndrome. And so he has hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And the doctors at the University of Iowa weren't comfortable doing the surgery. And so we were kind of just standing around waiting for him. And it sounds terrible, but we're standing there waiting for him to die. Mm-hmm. Until they got a second opinion from Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, so CHOP. And he took a flight out there, med flight out there, had his first surgery, open heart surgery, when he was 15 days old. And then came back to Iowa, went back out for another surgery. And then came back to Iowa, and he's a really special little kid to me. So I wasn't, when he was born, I was going through some other things. So it was just after my ex-husband and I had separated. And I was pregnant at the time. And so AJ's mom and I were pregnant at the same time. And then I found out that my daughter had a heart problem, and it was same kind of thing. And so I ended up, her heartbeat was gone at 23 weeks. And so that happened to be the weeks that AJ came back from Philadelphia. And so I was trying to decide what to do without getting too political in there. So I was trying to decide what to do and whether I wanted to have a gravesite or anything like that. And just my personality and the way I feel, I was like, I don't need a thing, because then it's here. And what if I don't want to stay here forever? And what if I want to move? And so I said, if I ever need to do something in her memory, or feel like I need to be close to her or anything like that, I will help my friends with their son. I will take care of him. And it just seemed more like me and more personal and a better way to honor her. And so I do spend quite a bit of time with AJ. He is 7 now. So when we were wondering if he was even going to make it till 7 days, and he turned 7 at the beginning of September. And I started taking care of him more and more. And then all of his major surgeries have to be done in Philadelphia. And so he had an airway reconstruction about 4 years ago, I think, 2018, 2019, something like that. And his mom got sick, and she said, hey, can you get on a plane tomorrow? Because I can't be around him with his airway healing. And I was like, sure, I'm getting a tooth pulled in the morning, but I can be on a flight in the afternoon. And so I was out there and spent 10 days out there, and got a crash course on how to take care of him. And there aren't a whole lot of us who can do that, just because of, he has a trach now, and he has a G-tube, and he has just started talking within the last few years. So some of us understand him and some of us don't, but he can't say Amy, but he says go Hawks. And so I feel like I have my accomplishment in life. I'm very happy about that. So
I'll allow it.
Yeah. So I have watched an Iowa game from the Children's Hospital from his room. I watched us lose to Wisconsin in 2018. But I usually have the light sign from that we had in his hospital room right behind me here. Yeah, he's a special kid. He has shown me what strength and perseverance are, and just happiness. And I'll never forget, we were sitting in a hotel room one time on our way out to Philly, and he's just sitting in front of the mirror and talking to himself and laughing and smiling. And he's not always so happy. Like Sunday, we fought about socks for 90 minutes. And, free timeouts and later.
So he understands what it's like to be married.
Yeah, he absolutely does. He absolutely does.
That's a high five. That's a good one.
Yeah. So, and after so I don't live in Iowa City or Cedar Rapids. I live out in the sticks, in the boondocks, and I'm close to him. And so when his mom or his dad call me or text me at 3:00 in the morning and say, hey, we got to go to the hospital, from my bed to their living room, I can be there in 12 and a half minutes. And so that's super important to me too, because they don't have anybody else who can do that.
Sure.
So yeah, he's a super special kid, and he makes every day better. So yeah, that's AJ.
That's great. Well, I think that we need to you talked earlier about survival, and
Yes.
AJ is certainly an epitome of survival, but I also think thriving would be a good word for him, and maybe you.
Yeah.
Just from the outside, I'll just give you an observation here. The amount that you have talked about your story has touched me as a father of two girls. I like to hear, and we like to bring on people here that give good. I'm not going to say feel good stories, but stories of hope and the ability to
Rise above.
Yeah, show people that there's a way out, right? I mean, not that we're reaching a bunch of people here, but I think it's important to talk about. So you posted a picture the other day of you
Yeah.
and a
With a huge
purple-headed
ass.
guy, you put an emoji over his face.
Yeah.
Which I would imagine is probably an improvement, but
yes, it really was. But yeah.
I mean, I don't know how in depth you want to get, so let's kind of start from the beginning, because I always think that there's probably some sort of a love story there at the beginning, right? I mean, you didn't get married to somebody you didn't love. I mean, Tim and I are both divorced. We obviously loved, our ex-wives at one point, and that's why you get married. But why don't you talk a little bit, if you're okay with it, about the beginning? And Tim, this is probably, maybe before we get into this, we take a break for Wintrust.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a perfect segue to go right into a sponsor again, Chris.
That's why I don't host anything. But I feel like we get into this next subject, it might be hard to break.
No, absolutely. No, you are right. I do think that we do need to go ahead and grab Kyle, I'm already sorry. No, we will go ahead.
This is a perfect break, because now everybody's going to stay through the break and now want to hear this story. So actually, I'm a fucking genius.
You are a thing that exists in the universe. That is true. No, it's probably good. I probably want to go ahead and grab myself another drink and probably a box of Kleenex. So let's go ahead and take a break. We will hear from our sponsor, Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage, and we will be back in, I don't know, 30 seconds.
Sure.
All right.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
Welcome back once again, listener. You are listening to we have listener. You are listening to Old Man Strength. In case you woke up from a coma and your Spotify was on shuffle, you are listening to Old Man Strength, a podcast of Three Beards Media, brought to you by Revelton Distilling Company, and of course our sponsor Wintrust Mortgage that you just heard an ad for. We have a lot of great content in the Three Beards Media family. Bitter Units, fill in the blank with Anya, Sigh of the Storm, WS Twin Warriors, and a lot more things to come. So we're very excited for what we have going on, and we're very grateful. So please go ahead and like, download, subscribe. How else do you rate? Please rate.
Review. Those are super important.
Tweet about us. Call your grandma. Tell her about us.
Not your grandma.
All those.
Don't call your grandma. She doesn't know. Then I'd have to walk her through how to subscribe. It's a whole thing.
So anyway, thank you very much for listening. We are joined once again by Amy Addison, S'mores Chick, on all of your social media applications, because that's how the kids say it, is applications. They do. Chris, don't look at me like that. Anyway.
The video's not
My
important,
niece-
so it doesn't matter how it we established that 20 minutes ago.
My
Doesn't
niece,
matter. Everybody was listening 20 minutes ago, hung up already.
Yeah. Hung up. This isn't a call-in show. What the hell? Amy, you were trying to talk and Chris just had to like cut you off with his old man nonsense. So anyway.
I have a rotary phone behind me. In my garage. Gonna say that. So my niece, when she was 3, she's 14 now. She had an iPod Touch, and she was 3 and looked at me and said, "Auntie Amy, I can't find my applications." And I was like, "Girl, I don't know how to work that thing." Like 11 years ago, and my 3-year-old niece had to show me how to use her applications. So I don't know that that's still relevant to him. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
I think the kids say applications. I don't think
they do.
no apps.
McKeel, we're gonna need a ruling here. We're gonna need a ruling.
Apps are what you get at TGI Fridays before the meal comes, right?
Not applications.
Oh my god. Well,
How are we gonna segue into that now?
I don't know how I'm going
I'll
to
handle
do
it.
this.
I'm the professional. I'll handle it. I'll take care of it.
Oh my god. Okay. No, so we mentioned
Speaking of
that,
applications, let's talk about
oh my god. Don't will you please quit talking? So as we did mention at the top of the pod, this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month here in October, which something that has hit home for me and a close friend of mine here very recently. But Amy, you've been open to at least some extent about your story. And please cut us off at any time if there's things that you aren't comfortable talking about, but we are grateful that you are willing to kind of share everything that you've been through and being an advocate for other victims of domestic violence.
Yeah. So when I was going through after I started the whole process, and I was cleaning out. So my ex-husband left a whole mess for me. And so I was cleaning everything out, and it was just completely emotionally exhausting. And I was texting with one of the most amazing people I know. And he said, I said, "I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the strength to do this." And he said, "He doesn't deserve your time, but you deserve your freedom." And that's kind of the thing that stuck with me. And so I kind of used that to decide when to tell my story and how to tell it. I was approached about, after some TikTok videos, I was approached about doing a reality show about narcissistic abuse. And I declined that because it just didn't feel like it was something that would help anybody. It wasn't going to help me gain my freedom, and it wasn't going to help anybody else gain their freedom either, just the premise of it. Podcasts, being able to talk to people in person, talking, speaking engagements, that kind of thing, I feel like those help other people. And so if I can help other people in their freedom, or help people know how to talk to people that they think are in this situation, if me talking can do that, that's what I want to do. It's not something that's talked about, and we were in I met my ex-husband in church. Mm-hmm. And so we were in an evangelical church, and it wasn't something that you talked about. And if something was happening, you didn't discuss it. Mm-hmm. And after I told my mom that I wasn't letting him back, she said, I wondered if that was happening. And that was something that, like, and I'm just now, and she said that 7 years ago to me. Wow. And I am just now getting to the point where I understand a little bit more, maybe, why she didn't say anything, because I was livid. I was absolutely furious, because I did not understand how she could, if she suspected it, why was she okay with me being in that situation? Mm-hmm. And but she didn't know how to approach it, and I'm starting to see that now. And I think it's something that you people just don't know. And so I get a lot of messages when I talk about it, or when I put stuff on Twitter or Insta or whatever. Like I sold my wedding ring and donated the money to a domestic violence charity because I didn't want it. And I didn't want that reminder, so if it can help somebody else, then that's what I'm going to do. And I got so many messages after that. I have a friend who's in this. I have a friend who's in this. My daughter's in this. My niece is in this. What do I do? Kind of thing. So sure. Sharing that is, we can change the world. We just have to do it one person at a time.
Yeah. So you mentioned your mom. I think older generations, certainly a lot of things that are just, we don't talk about things like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's that's airing dirty laundry, and that's not appropriate type of thing. It makes it more challenging. And I think also just, like you look at, I mean, all three of us are divorced, right? It's certainly common, but I'm not going to pretend like it's still completely socially acceptable or understood. It's 10 times more so for the generation before us, right? So a lot of these folks that were in unhealthy relationships just found a way to get right, without actually acknowledging what was going on, because you don't talk about it. These are the things you don't talk about.
I think that stories like Amy's helps people realize the situations that they might be in, whereas when you didn't talk about it, to your point, Tim, for those earlier generations, they didn't hear about it, so they didn't do anything about it. They didn't acknowledge it was a real thing, right? And or it wasn't socially acceptable to leave your spouse because of abuse. You just lived with it, unfortunately. I mean, I'm sure that they were, you hear about stories now of these older generations that went through some of these things that didn't leave because at that point it wasn't socially known and it wasn't socially acceptable. And Amy, I think our proper way to start here is to maybe talk about the early part of your marriage. We talked about before the break about how, obviously those signs weren't there, or maybe they were there. And I know for my first marriage, and I can only speak for myself, it wasn't abusive or anything like that. But I think there were signs there of my first wife that I probably shouldn't have married her. But because for me, my self-esteem was so low, and at a point in my life where I didn't think I would do any better, I was so afraid not to have somebody that I was going to latch on to whoever showed me any kind of an interest. And looking back, I mean, I don't regret not having my girls. But that's the only thing that I regret about that, because it wasn't a healthy marriage. And I knew that even as I continued to be married to her, I knew it wasn't healthy, and it was not abusive, and it wasn't domestic violence. But I would imagine maybe that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I think the biggest thing probably with us was we met in church. And so I had this idea that, oh, well, everything's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, he goes to church. He must be a good man, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. So, and we had known each other, and then we started dating and we got married. And from the day of our first date to our wedding day was 7 months.
Oh, wow.
So, I didn't know him. I feel like I didn't actually know him. I thought I knew him. So we got engaged after 2.5 months. And I know that I loved him. And I'm kind of jaded on that word now, just because.
Sure.
So I definitely did love him, and we should have waited longer. We almost called off the wedding or postponed the wedding like 2 weeks before. And I said,
can I ask why?
Yeah. Because we were fighting a lot.
Sure.
And I think part of, so now looking back, and knowing what textbook narcissism looks like, he absolutely 100% love bombed me, get it done so I can let go. Because that's what they do. And I know that now. And so yesterday was my 20-year wedding anniversary. So I didn't know that 20 years ago. I didn't know, maybe I didn't even know the word narcissism, but we were fighting a lot. And I felt like he didn't accept my family the way that I would have liked. But at that point I was like, okay, here's the deal. I've always been hyper independent. I cannot ask for help. And when it's offered to me, I hardly ever accept it because I also can't do that. And so I feel like I was there. And I wanted my independence, but I also wanted somebody to be with, and we got along most of the time. But when we were looking at calling it off or postponing, I said, here's the deal. If I don't do this now, my fear of commitment is going to kick in, and I'm not going to do it. So that was, I probably shouldn't have said that, but here we are. So,
well, I mean, I understand it. I've never told this particular story before, but dating my ex-wife at the time, before dating or whatever, there was an incident where she had an affair before we got married, and it was a big red flag. And it was one of those deals where, again, like I said earlier, I was so insecure myself that I wanted the dream of having a family and a wife and the white picket fence, as cheesy as that sounds. That I went ahead and looked past that because I didn't want to be alone.
Mhm. And yeah, I was okay with being alone. I still am. Traveling alone, all that kind of stuff. So I was at the point where I couldn't picture myself with him forever, but I also couldn't picture my life without him in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it just became that de facto kind of thing. And that's not why we got engaged. That's not why I said yes when he called me the wrong name. That's a fun story. But yeah, so I don't know that he was ever in it. And maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know, but it was good at first, and we had a good time, and there were red flags, but as I found out even after and doing the online dating thing, I am like a bull in Pamplona, and I just run straight for them sometimes. So, and so, yeah, better about seeing them now, but
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a part that you mentioned being okay with being alone and independent, but there still is something to finding a part of your identity in and with someone else,
Mhm.
and that becomes you become susceptible to things that you wouldn't accept from the outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was vulnerable with him, and I kind of let my guard down. And there were things that he would say joking, that maybe weren't joking, and
Mhm.
maybe I shouldn't have been like, oh, he's just joking, that kind of
Yep.
thing. I was 24,
Mhm.
and yeah, that yeah, it wasn't always bad, but I
Yep.
definitely, looking back, ignored a lot of things.
I mean, and cards on the table here. Chris and I have both said on this podcast before that we have, in our first marriages, were maybe unkind or said things that were not right. That certainly things that we
Mhm.
regret. I think that's where, for someone like you that is in a situation like that, you want to say from the outside, oh, it's so obvious, it's so black and white, but it really becomes
Mm-mm.
way more. The line is so blurry that you don't even know there's a line anymore. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I know there are things that I said that I wish I could take back, or that I regret. That doesn't mean that there was a clear line being drawn, and sometimes I think from an outsider's perspective, right? So friends that were witnessing what you were going through, probably it was obvious to them that wasn't obvious to you.
I did really well at hiding it. So I grew up that here you put on this mask, and this is how you look, and this is how it should be. So it was 11 years before I told anybody anything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So even that he said my wrong name when he proposed to me, Texas name. So I didn't even say that.
That's just surreal to me.
Yeah. And as I was cleaning out his stuff, I found a picture of him and her in his stuff. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah. Just gonna put that in the box, and I'm gonna add in this jar of glitter with the lid loosened as well. So yeah. petty like that sometimes. But
when did you start to realize that maybe you were in the situation that it wasn't the fairy tale marriage that you thought it was, and it was because you hadn't confided in anybody, it sounded like.
yeah.
And you obviously, I mean, that's got to be a very lonely existence to have a public persona of a happy marriage and a happy wife and know that that's not happening. When did you start to realize that maybe that was happening?
It was, looking back, I see things from the first year.
Mhm.
But I made a lot of excuses for him, because
I think you do that when you're in love a lot.
yeah, well, and he has a medical condition. So so back up just a little bit, but we were planning to move to Missouri, and so we had an accepted offer on a house, and the week before we were supposed to move, we had both quit our jobs and everything. The loan officer who approved our loan was investigated for fraud, and so they took our loan. And so we did not move. We did not get to buy that house in Missouri, and so we were here. And he just decided that he wasn't going to go back to work. And I was like, okay, so I guess I will. So I went to work. I was working 3 part-time jobs, and he wasn't doing anything. Like, he was staying at home. It was financially, it was awful. And I didn't have health insurance, so I was paying for his medication out of pocket, and it was $400 a month because, yay, United States healthcare system. But he was taking some medications, and they were trying them out to see what would work best, to see if he could go back to work. And that was in the first year, where he said he refused to file for disability as well, because he said, well, Amy's got it, Amy's taking care of it. So, and there was a medication that he was on that I remember. I have a very vivid memory, and I can see it in my head, and I can see his eyes looking at me. So he threw me into a wall, and I slumped down, and it was a brick wall. And I slumped down the wall, and I was sitting on the floor, and he's standing over me, yelling at me. And I looking in his eyes, and I just saw nothing. And it was like he was completely empty. There was nothing there. And I made the excuse that was the medication that he was trying. So, and at that point I said, if you ever take that again, I'm out the door. Nope, nothing. And so he never took it again, but there were still other things that happened. So he would do something like that and then be fine for months at a time. And people at work would say, you need to leave him, and because he's not taking care of you, and he refuses to work, and he refuses to file for disability, and he's okay with you doing all of the things, everything. And I would say, he has a medical condition. If he had cancer, I'm not going to leave him because he has cancer. And it's the same type of thing. I'm not going to leave just because he has a medical condition.
Right. I mean, you stood up there and said, for better, for worse, and sickness and health.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I absolutely get that mentality.
Yeah. And so I look back, and things like that happened a lot. So that was the first year. And there was another time where he was behind me, and he pushed me down on the ground, and I was laying on the ground. And that was in that same house. And we were only there for 9 months, something like that. And then we moved. And I have a lot of memories that I've repressed due to just trauma. And occasionally I get glimpses of them and they come back, and some of them are just there. And I sometimes relive them in the middle of the night, kind of thing. And that's better now, but they're not so I was taught, or we always thought, abuse is when you leave bruises, and he never left bruises, and I don't know how. And he would even say that, you bruise so easy, Amy, I can't be doing anything because you don't have bruises. Which you learn, eventually you learn that it's not, domestic violence and domestic abuse isn't just that. There are so many aspects of it. Like him telling me that I was lucky to have him, and that I was a bitch, and I wasn't pretty, and I was fat, and nobody else would ever want me, and I was lucky to have him. I was lucky to have someone who looked like him. So
that's not narcissistic at all.
No, I know. Yeah. So
gaslighting is the term that I would use.
Yes. And you start to believe that stuff.
Oh, sure. It's easy. It's easy
so
to believe the negative things. Absolutely. 100%.
It takes, I read a statistic that said it takes 7 positive things to negate 1 negative thing.
You hear that, Tim? You hear that, Tim? How you talk?
Oh no, that's why I always keep everything terrible I say about you in a manageable amount, so I can still.
Yes. So yeah, you start to believe it after a while, and you just do anything because you're there.
So, Amy, you mentioned that you guys met through the church, and not to get too into the weeds on this, but as someone who was an active participant in the evangelical community, I would say that they do not do a great job of acknowledging domestic violence. And when they do, it kind of seems like it's a very surface level thing. For as much as they are supportive of the family and traditional family values, it gets into kind of some stereotypical roles. So I wonder if you're comfortable, if you could talk a little bit more about your experience with the church as you went through this.
Yeah. So we had we kept going to church. We switched churches after we got married because we met at the church I grew up in. And I was always taught that there is only one reason for divorce, just one, and it's adultery. Anything else, you stick out.
I still feel a tremendous amount of guilt.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah. And otherwise you just deal with it because that's the only thing that the Bible says is okay. And it's just not something you talk about. And even after we separated, so before we separated, we had stopped going to church. And I had told him that I wanted a divorce, and he said, well, we need to do marriage counseling first, because otherwise we have no basis for a divorce. And I was like, okay, you picked a counselor, because I had asked for that many times before. And so I made him choose who we were going to go see, because I knew that if I chose the person, he would be like, well, they're just siding with you because you picked them. And so he hadn't been to church in years, and he chose a Christian counselor, an evangelical counselor. And I was like, okay, fine. If that's where you want to go, that's where we'll go. Whatever. I knew my decision then. So we went to that, and it wasn't, we kept it on the down low. It had to be quiet, and we couldn't tell people that we were in marriage counseling, because marriage counseling is what you do right before you get a divorce or right before you separate or whatever. And there's just that stigma that goes along with it in religion. So it was just something that we didn't tell anybody. He had told his parents, but I wasn't allowed to tell anybody else. I was told to keep it to myself. I told some friends that I worked with. They knew, but and the counselor actually is the one who recommended that we get a divorce. So I continued to see her after we separated, and he was supposed to see someone, and she said, I don't recommend divorce, but you can't let him back in your house. So he said in one of our talks, like one of the last times that I talked to him, he said that we couldn't get a divorce because we didn't have a biblical basis for it. Because he said he hadn't been unfaithful. So he's like, I haven't been with anybody else. And as far as I know, you haven't either. And I was like, well, that's not accurate. But anyway, so it was just something, you have to keep up the face, and you put on that face and you go to church, and everything's, you smile until you get in the car. One of the worst times, and it's on my TikTok, but we were on our way home from church, and he got mad at me, and I was driving. He pulled me out of the car. He made me stop the car and pulled me out of the car and left me on the side of the road. And Iowa, we have a lot of gravel roads, especially where I live out in the sticks. But he got in the driver's seat and he took off, and he was coming back, and I thought he was coming back to pick me up, but instead he pointed the car at me and he sped up and stopped a couple feet in front of me. And that's a feeling that I remember. And we were on our way home from church. And so I didn't feel like I could tell anybody that. So I actually wrote it down when I got home that day. I wrote it down in a notebook that I found a few years ago. And so at that point, I knew enough to write it down. I know that I have photos somewhere of red marks that he left on my arm, chunks of the wall that were taken out because he threw a wine bottle at me because I made the wrong cake for his birthday. But we would go to church every Sunday and pretend like everything was fine. So I see that a lot in the church, and I don't know if it's because they just don't know how to talk about it, or if they don't believe it, or what.
Yeah. I mean, I would say particularly, I mean, and Chris, your experience in the Catholic Church might be similar, might be very different. To stereotype for a second, you Catholics are very good at guilt.
Right.
But in the evangelical community, very much there are all of these examples of a biblical marriage, examples of a great thing, and it almost it gets to a point where it's not honest or representative of the struggle that a marriage really is. Even the best
Right.
marriages in the world are work, right? My parents
Mhm.
just celebrated their 50th anniversary, and they will tell you that it is work. And I think that I particularly because the evangelical community is so much about a specific gender roles, and B, this is what a godly marriage looks like.
Yep.
That anyone who's not living up to those feels a passive aggressive type of guilt that is different than anything else, that you're not good enough, you're not doing it right, you're doing something wrong because
Yep.
your marriage isn't up to kind of this model of whatever Instagram pumpkin spice
Hug boots.
momfluencer type of thing
Yeah.
is going. Yeah, right. But like, because there's so much of that, and then I remember being in a Bible study with a man who was divorced, and he expressed very clearly that he felt like an outsider and ostracized, even though people didn't actively try to no one in that Bible
Sure.
study actively said, you're falling short of God's plan or whatever. Like, but there was a kind of a I don't even want to say subtle, but it wasn't like a direct, type of, and so there's a whole other type of guilt
Yeah.
along with that makes you blame yourself for the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
I think when Stacy and I got married, we both were previously married, so we had to go through an annulment through the Catholic Church, which at the time I felt
That's a
like
whole
was,
other weird thing, by the way.
right? Which I felt at the time like I got to pay this amount of money, and then I'm going to have this annulment, and then I'm going to be able to get married.
Right.
It seems like a scam to me, right?
It does. It feels like a very weird tax. That's
So
yeah.
right. So forget the money portion of it, though. Part of that annulment was I had to sit down and write out basically what happened in my marriage.
Oof.
Now, depending on the type of person that you are, you can either take that as a way to be cathartic and see your mistakes and see what you could work on, which I think is what the intended purpose of it is. Or you can just totally bullshit yourself through because you don't give a flying fuck and you just want to get married again. And I remember asking Father John, I said, what happens? Like, what happens if, because my ex-wife had to write one as well, even though she's not Catholic. And he said, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to write what happened, and she's going to write what she thinks has happened, and it's going to be identical. And they're going to come back and go, yeah, neither one of them, they recognize that this was never going to work. Or they're going to look at it and go, or she's going to have a completely different version of the story, and they're going to go back and go, neither one of them were on the same page.
Yeah.
But the most important part is if you're being honest with yourself. And Tim, you and I have talked about this before. I was not a perfect husband. I made a shit ton of mistakes. I said terrible things. But I did take a lot out of writing that out and so on, and looking at what I needed to do if I ever decided to get married again, which at the point when I wrote that down was when I wanted to get married. But I did a lot of that self-reflection beforehand when I started to date and going and knowing what I wanted in life and what I wanted in a partner and so on. And I think, Amy, you probably have done a little bit of that as well, right? I mean, none of that excuses any of what he did or who he was or what he was. But I would venture to guess if you sat down and you wrote things out, you would be honest with yourself about the things that you recognized and maybe what your portions were.
The things that you deserve.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that his would be total bullshit. Let's just be honest.
It was. Yeah.
Because
So,
that's what a narcissist does.
yeah. Yep.
And
Part
even
of
to this day, my ex-wife will not take any responsibility whatsoever for the breakup of our marriage. And she, I think, still struggles with that and
mhm,
still focuses on me. And I don't give her a second thought most of the time.
yeah. Um, Part of our marriage counseling, one of the first things that the counselor had us do was get a book. And I don't remember the name of it, but it was about abusive relationships and abusive marriages. And she told him that she wanted him to read the first chapter and me to not. And then we would come back the next week, discuss it, and then I would read it. And so he read that first chapter, and we went back to counseling. And he said, and she asked him what he learned and what he got from it. And he said, well, I learned that she's abusive to me. And
I want to punch
and the
this guy right
counselor
in his face so bad.
and the counselor said, why do you think that? And he went on some bullshit about how he was afraid to be around me, and he never knew when I was going to go off on him or anything like that. And I was like, dude, I'm afraid to come home every day because I don't know if that's going to be the day you're going to snap and just shoot me. You're the one with the gun, not me. And so I know I did things wrong. I know that, oh my goodness, sometimes I would go to him. I know I did that. And or say things he would piss me off. And so I would say things that I knew would piss him off, just because I had it. And that's not the proper way to make anything better in any type of relationship. So you learn from things. And for a long time, I also blamed myself for staying in it. That it was years of me doing that. But after we separated, I took a year and a half, just me, because I felt like I needed to work on me. I needed to figure out what I wanted going forward and make sure that I was okay with being alone, so that when I was in a relationship, it was because I wanted to be and not because I couldn't be alone, kind of thing. And so I think maybe that was, I don't know. I know I made mistakes. I know I did a lot of things. I like to shop a lot, and since he wasn't working, I was making all the money, I shopped. When we bought our house, he didn't like it, and I said, well, you're not working and I love it, so I'm buying the house. So probably not the best idea.
but I mean, my impression right now is that you're still making excuses. I mean, certainly relationships. Again, I mentioned my parents celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, right? They are to me, and to this day, and maybe this is my own kind of thing of help. They do have an amazing. They are each other's best friends. I always worry that my dad doesn't have enough hobbies because his only hobby is being married to my mom, and they're retired, and I'm sure he drives her insane. But But I remember them fighting, and I think sometimes people have this idealized thing in their mind of once I find my person, my partner, whatever, we're not going to fight or whatever. And so then yeah, I know it's, but I think people get that
Sorry.
way, right? And so I think what
My parents
happens
fought all the time.
is that people make excuses, and they feel guilt where there shouldn't be guilt, and they say, oh, I contributed to all of these things, and because and that is true, right? And sometimes the line does get gray, right? You have a fight. Again, it's not like this is abuse, this isn't an abuse, it's a clear black and white line. Sometimes it gets into kind of the shade of gray of we say mean things to each other. At the end of the day, we're loving. Sometimes it is kind of a both sides type of thing. Is we're both dicks to each other, right? Like there is some of that, but it makes it way too easy to excuse behavior that isn't excusable, right? And so even now, as I hear you talk about what you did, I feel like there's some of that is always kind of carried with. There's always kind of this residual piece of that.
Yeah, definitely. So after I don't know where to start this part of the story. So one thing that got me out and made me realize that it wasn't healthy and that I didn't deserve to be treated like that. It wasn't an instance where he did something, tried to hit me with a car, or it wasn't anything like that. I was working with a guy who hyped me up all the time and told me that I was amazing and fantastic and I deserved better and all of that. And that's what it took for me to realize that he's not right. Like, I'm okay. Right. You know, I'm kind of cool. Most people like me. So that's what it took. And when I realized that and I told him that I wanted a divorce, that was my time. And I said, I want a divorce. And after that, I did what I wanted. And I shouldn't have done that. But going out with my friends and doing what I wanted and
going to Iowa games.
Yeah, that was after he was out of my house. So,
going to Iowa games is really letting loose.
It is. Yeah. So, I mean, my friends took me out for my birthday. Right after I told them I wanted a divorce, they were like, we're taking you out for your birthday. I was like, cool. And I couldn't drive home that night. And so he called me and asked me where I was staying. And because I had a gallon of Red's apple ale in me, you still can't drink that. No. I said, do I really have to know his name? And so that was not a good choice. I was at my friend's house. Sure. So, but I was just, yeah. No, so I should not have done that. That was a bad decision. I wasn't perfect. Nobody is. Right. But I never tried to kill him. so I guess I've got that going for me.
Well,
let
me
yeah.
Yes.
Let me ask you, and we'll kind of start to get wrapped up here, but because I would like to touch on how great your life is now, and like we said before, how thriving it is rather than just surviving.
Yeah.
But I think this is an important question that I ask every podcast, but I think it's super important for what we've talked about here is that what would you go back and say to Amy 10 years ago, 2022 Amy, who has all these experiences now and all these positives in her life? What do you go back to say to 2012 Amy now? And I think I'm asking you this question because I think there's a lot of current people out there in a situation that could probably hear 2022's Amy's advice.
So I know that you ask this question all the time, so I've been thinking about it for like a week now. And
I know I got in trouble when I didn't ask Meg this question.
I know. She's like, I'm going to tell you anyway. Yes.
I'm glad to have a guest that actually listens to our podcast, Chris.
I know, right?
Let's just
That's
take a side
crazy.
note there.
I'm going to have to start changing the question up.
I love Meg. So yeah, after I listened to the Iowa fans, I listened to Steph and Meg. So because
those are two good
I
ones.
love both of them. Yes. So. Yeah. Meg's is one. Some Iowa fans went after her, and Holly and I stepped in
well, don't worry. We got a whole segment coming up of Steph's of shut the fuck up. So
okay, yeah. Love it. I love that. So yeah, I've been thinking about it. And I had to go back and look at pictures to find out what was going on in 2012. So, because I think I was just existing. I had bought the house a few years before, and I was in college for my second career and working in a job I hated. Not hated, but it wasn't me. So I think I'm a big believer that all of your experiences make you who you are today. And I know AJ's parents because they were my neighbors in the house that I live in and the house that we moved to. And so I think I would say believe in yourself, but and I would make different decisions, maybe not. But I would tell me that I deserve better. That it shouldn't take another person to tell me that. And that was getting towards the point where I was really depressed. I have a semicolon tattoo on my wrist because I was working and I wanted, on my way home, I didn't want to come home. And so I was driving down a road next to a river and I considered driving the car into the river. And then I told my ex-husband that, and his response was, the direct quote, "How do you think that makes me feel?" And so the semicolon is don't give up, just move on. You move on, things will get better. You can make them better. you can keep going. So I think that's what I would tell myself. That's what I would tell other people in my situation is you deserve better. You can do better. Don't give up, and tell someone. When I finally told someone, it was a former coworker, and we were out drinking one night, and I said something offhand, and I don't even remember what it was, but he said, "Amy, are you safe at home?" And I was like, "Nope." And I took my drink and went and played pool. And and then after that, every day after that, he would text me every morning and say, "Are you okay? Are you safe?" And so telling someone that and having that support, just it made all the difference. So that was the beginning of my transformation, and gaining my confidence back.
Amy, I think that's amazing. Side note, I think that tattoo is badass. I'm glad that you could teach Chris tonight what a semicolon does as well.
Yeah, wow, man.
But I really do appreciate why you have that. I think that's amazing. It means
I have
so
a
much.
taco on my ankle too, by the way.
What's on your the semicolons on your ankle?
No, I have a taco.
Oh, you have a taco on your ankle.
See, I know what a taco is. I know.
I
what
gotta
a
say
taco is.
that's awesome.
I'm much more into the taco
Yes,
than I am the
yeah,
semicolon.
Yeah.
No, that's also amazing.
But
Yeah. No, I love both those. No, I think that's probably one of the most meaningful tattoos I've ever heard of in my life, and I think the way you articulated that was amazing. Amy, I can't express enough gratitude for you to come on here and be as open as you have been. Your candor has been amazing. It's also given me a lot of pause, right? And given me as a potential partner for someone what to think about and re-examine my behavior and re-examine who I have been and what I was as a spouse and who I will be to who else. Very, very grateful. But we actually, as Chris did say, we do have I think this is the first time we're officially inaugurating this one. The Steph Copley shut the fuck up moment.
That's right.
Where Chris and I are going to just shut up and let you talk about, and it could be, you could even spend, time talking about how great of an offensive coordinator Brian is, even though that's wrong.
We did that already.
The rule,
I did do that already.
But the
rules of the segments say that Chris and I can't interrupt. So,
well then,
yes,
no.
Amy, no, I very much appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Oh, so much pressure. Fuck my life. I did not have enough whiskey for this. So this is the first time that I have revealed my new name. So I made a decision when I got divorced that I was choosing a new name, a new last name. I didn't want my married name. I didn't want my maiden name. I wanted something that was me as an individual and had to do with my healing. And so I recently just chose my name. So, and it's Addison. So that's my new last name. Yay. And so that's what people will know me as. And it is, it's an homage to my grandma and her love for the Chicago Cubs. So Wrigley Field is on Clark and Addison, and so it's Addison. That is also my niece's name, and so I got her permission. She was the first one who found out about the name because I wanted her permission to use her name as my last name. So, I have some things coming up that I'm going to be trying because, again, I hate my job and I'm tired of dealing with assholes every day.
And then you came on this podcast? What the hell
I
is
know,
wrong
right?
with you?
Tim, you're supposed to shut the fuck up, remember? You don't even know the rules of your own.
I'm telling
segment.
stuff. I'm telling stuff. Yeah. So, yeah. So I am, I'm going to be trying some new things to kind of work better with my personality. So I love talking, and people have a hard time getting me to shut up half the time. So yeah, okay, now I'm going to shut the fuck up. But
well, we really appreciate your candor, your want to come on and your story, and I'm so happy that you have thrived through this.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it has been a very long road. So there's a lot of things that are still going through. My divorce wasn't final until 2020, August of 2020. My divorce was final August 5th. And I finished moving his stuff out on August 9th, and my house was mine, and it was all in just my name. And then Rachel came on August 10th and dropped a tree on the fucking house. So
I was like, okay,
yay,
here you go.
my own
You're on your
house.
own.
I was so excited for this.
Right.
Yeah, but I get to do what I want now. So it's
Well, you know what we want? Let's segue into this because you know, Tim, how good I
I'm already dreading whatever the hell you're gonna do.
I'm so worried right now.
You're famous for your Jello shots.
I am.
I feel like Revelton has to have its own Jello shot, like an old man shot or an old man.
Yes.
With some Revelton on it. Not that I can be there. I missed our tailgate for the Iowa game.
Yeah,
but I'm
sort of
so
three beards. Yeah, I like this idea.
I need to I was thinking about this when y'all have a home game and we don't. I'm not far from Ames. I can come there.
Okay. There we go. All right. I got extra
I saw the pain in her face.
I know, right? I know, right?
I just want to see the damn bridge.
I just want to come and see 9 points instead of 6. That's what she wants to do.
Right. Oh, God.
I want to see the bridge. Your bridge is cooler than Iowa City's.
It is. It's impressive.
Yeah. So the Jello shot is something that I have coming up, hopefully. So yeah.
All right. Well, there we go.
But I went to a work function at a bar in Cedar Rapids, and I saw a great big sign that had a Revelton mule, and I was like, I gotta try that. And I like put it on the table and I took a picture so I could tweet it to Chris, and then I had 3, and I don't know what. So, but it was really good. So,
there you go, Rob. There's your promo.
So good you'll forget to text your friends.
That's right.
Yeah.
So good you forget to text people.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, Amy, again, we cannot thank you enough. Just fantastic. I really hope your voice continues to get out there. If you want to find a home for podcasting, I'm just saying.
So we can tell
Amy
the
and
taco
Holly.
story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The drunken bitches or whatever, whiskey and bitches or whatever.
Wine and whiskey bitches.
There you go. See, that's what we need.
Bitches. Jesus. Okay. Anyway,
you like it, Tim. You're just jealous we didn't name it this.
That's what we should call this one. Yeah.
Yeah. All of my group chats with my friends have some sort of bitches in the name. Every single one of them. Yeah. So
good. Excellent.
You're friends with my ex-wife?
Wow. Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I forgot.
Just think we're nice.
Right. We're over 2 hours.
Anyway.
At this point.
On exactly that note. Oh my goodness. Listeners, thank you very much.
Listener, thank you very much.
Bill, thank you very much for making it through yet again.
Out at this point.
Another episode of Old Man Strength. Once again, a podcast of Three Beards Media. So many great things going on. Please check out my friend Anya with her Fill in the Blank with Anya podcast. A couple people on Twitter have recently reached out and realized that Anya is doing this thing, and as much as they love Anya, they're also surprised by how awesome it is, because it is fantastic.
It is good.
She is a lot easier to listen to than either Chris or I. Some great stuff. Again, the Side of the Storm. How can you not listen to George Trice talk to Marcus Pfizer and Brent Crevey about Iowa State sports, even if you don't like Iowa State?
Amy,
I've listened to it.
There you go. That's what I'm talking.
It really is fantastic. who knew Marcus Pfizer was such a football mind? Absolutely. And then of course the other podcast that I'm on, Bitter Units. We do have a couple of guests coming up, some beer coming in from Chicago. I'm really excited to talk. And
Rob is in for an episode.
And absolutely, we are going to get Rob on. So we're not going to just be a beer podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about whiskey. It was fun to go down to the distillery and for Rob and I to talk about the similarities and the differences between what he does. Some things I'm very jealous that he gets to do, and some things I'm very grateful I don't have to do. So fantastic stuff all around, and more things on the slate that we are still working on. So
I think so.
Yeah. And so we are very, very grateful for you guys. Again, Revelton Distillery, 1400 West Clay Street, Osceola, Iowa. Please check out Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage for all of your lending needs. Chris, is there anything that I am missing?
I mean, we've already been 2 hours. I don't have enough time to go over everything you're missing.
All right.
Oh, you mean in regards to the podcast? I'm sorry. No, you're good.
Lord.
Sorry. No, you're good.
Amy, one last time, where can people find you on the interwebs?
I am S'more Chick everywhere.
Because she's a hot mess. That's exactly it. Yeah. So my niece asked me if I was S'more Chick everywhere, and I said, yeah. I said, because s'mores are a hot mess, and so am I. And she said, I usually just light mine on fire. And I was like, also my life.
Oh, well, perfect. With that, Chris is Side Dad on Twitter. You can go ahead and lodge all your complaints to him. I am Tim Trenton MN on Twitter, so you can give us all the compliments on that account. Please go and check us out at strength_old, because Chris is an old man, and that was the handle that he could get for us. We appreciate everything that you guys do for us, and we will see you guys next time.